While other coins are just trying to get back their highs from May, Quant has completely smashed its all-time high and has rallied 769%, guys. Absolutely amazing. But does it have more in the tank? I think it does. And in this video, I'm going to do a full top-down analysis on Quant. Everything you're going to want to and everything you're going to want to know about this coin, to include when to buy in and when to sell. All right, so you do not want to go anywhere. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll dive right in. So on Quant, like I was talking about, guys, 769% from the crash in May. So it went from $66 down to around $23, and now has absolutely exploded upwards in price. And if you look at a coin like Bitcoin, we all know what this chart looks like. We have not been able to reclaim this high. Very few of the coins have been able to, but Quant is one of those rare exceptions. So what's going to happen now? So what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to get rid of every indicator on this chart and go step by step and replace these back on here so you have an overall idea of what to look for, and you can do this at the same time with your own charts. I'm going to lay out very specific levels and breakers and go over all your buy zones, your sell zones. This is going to be completely all-inclusive, and I'm going to do this in one single take. So whatever I say, you guys are going to get with all the raw footage. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now we're going to start with the US dollar pairing, okay, or the US tether pairing. I'm using the KuCoin chart because I think it gives you the best overall view of a fairly long time frame for this coin. It also has good volume on here, and KuCoin is a pretty decent size exchange, which I also do like. Let's go ahead and get rid of that, and we're going to go and start with our top-down analysis. Now, usually for my top-down analysis, I like to start with either the quarterly charts or the monthly charts. Since it's such a new coin, we don't have a quarterly chart that really makes sense, so we're going to look at the monthly chart. Well, the first thing you want to look at on this monthly chart is look at the volume profile. Look how every single month has had increasing volume as the price has risen. This is what you want to see for a parabolic movement. That means it's gaining strength as it's going up. And the most recent month, we're only 13 days, or we have 13 days left in the month, and we already have tremendously more volume than the previous month. This is a very, very good sign for the long-term time frame of Quant. All right, and this looks great. We don't have any divergences or any RSI on this one because we don't have enough price history. So let's go into the next chart. Next we'll look at is the weekly time frame. So what I'm looking for here is I want to start designating out all of our weekly breakers. So a very obvious one is right here. Now what a breaker is where the price goes up, consolidates down, and then continues back up. This consolidation period, this is where the bears fought back. This is where there was a major clash between the two teams. They went back and forth, and then eventually the bulls won, but you need to understand this is the area that saw a lot of contention. So if we get retested down here, you would imagine this to also be another level that's going to be highly contended with. We're going to go ahead and annotate it as a weekly breaker. Oh, let's go ahead over here. Another one right here. You guys can see this. These right here, again, we had an upwards price, downward movement, continuation up. This is once again going to act as a major support level. So, weekly breaker. Now, I don't expect to get any lower than that, so I'm going to go ahead and stop with these two levels on the weekly. Let's go to the 3-day. On the 3-day level, now it's starting a little bit interesting. We don't really have very many breakers that have really been established on this, but we now have some RSI, and we can do a more in-depth volume analysis on this thing and really start analyzing the profiles of this. So for starters, let's go look at the overall volume profiling. One thing I do like is every one of these bumps up has an increase in volume. You guys see this, right? So this increase right here had higher volume. This increase right here had once again higher volume. And this one right here had once again higher volume. Now, one thing I'm a little concerned about is that this increase so far has not had higher volume than this previous one. That's a little bit concerning. Not only that, we can see how we now have a bearish divergence that is being formed on the 3-day chart. You guys can see this pretty clearly. So in case you're not aware of what a divergence is, This is whenever you have a higher high on price, but a lower high on RSI. Okay, so even though the price goes up, the RSI does not make a higher high, which means that the overall strength of this market does not have as much strength moving up than this one did, which is not really that surprising because we had a massive amount of volume, and this is a very aggressive movement off the lows. So not very surprising, but this definitely is a bearish divergence that is being formed on the 3-day level. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. I have a feeling we're going to get even better bearish divergence coming up soon. Overall, outside of that, I think that's basically all I want to talk about on here. So now we're going to go to the daily chart. Now, on the daily chart, we do the exact same thing. What major breakers exist? Well, obviously we have this one. We obviously have this one, but realistically, the only one I really like on this chart is this right here. I think this has a lot of potential. I'm going to annotate it. Daily breaker. So if we get a retest down in this level, this would be a very strong support zone. Now, another really good breaker we have is right here. And I'm starting to annotate a lot of levels on here, but that's good. You want to have a lot of levels annotated. So whenever you start losing these levels or you start going through these levels, that shows you a sign of strength and a level where that should act as a strong support if the price drops down there. Daily breakers. All right, awesome. So let's see anything else I really see. Not much. I think that's basically it on this chart, especially the most recent price action. I think we're pretty much what we're looking at. We're going to go to the daily or the 4 hour. Okay. Once again, very strong level. This is going to be a 4 hour breaker. Over here, not too much. Now, one thing I'm going to take notice of is that we absolutely have this high right here, right? And this high is going to be the swing high. All right. So this swing high has been tapped. We can see how the swing high, although it wasn't fully tapped on this one, it got pretty close. So it looks like a pretty decent retest of that high. Since we were not able to make a new high, it came down here and collapsed. All right. Over here, hit the swing high again, got above the swing high. However, right now, we're actually trading below the swing high, and that's a pretty concerning sign. So we do not want to see this on this chart. So this is what's called a swing failure pattern. Okay, a swing failure pattern. Yeah, so essentially what that means is that a lot of people are placing their stop buys, which mean that they're going to buy if it goes above here, or they are exiting their shorts right above this level again, because this may be their invalidation point as to once it gets above there, that's whenever they expect the price to continue going higher. However, a lot of times if you're a whale and you're trying to get rid of a lot of position, let's say you already have a lot of quant. It's really, really hard for you as a whale, someone who has several $1 million worth of this coin, to go onto an exchange and just instantly sell it. There's not enough people who are willing to buy on that exchange without having massive amount of slippage. And slippage is where, when you sell something or buy something, the amount of people that you have to buy from or sell to is so great that you're not getting the best deals for it and you're wiping out all the liquidity. So instead, what a lot of times the whales will do is they'll be placing sell orders all up and down here. And once they get above this level, people are going to buy. But what are they doing? They're buying your sell orders that you have placed right here. And as it goes up, all your levels get filled, and then you can go ahead and crash the market down. And that's what's looking like what's happening right now on Quant. However, this is a 4-hour level. So if we're talking about monthly levels, do you think I really care about a 4-hour level? No, of course not. It doesn't make sense. That makes much sense, right? We're focused on higher time frame levels. Now, if we do drop, which looks like what's about to happen, where do you think my first target's going to be? A 4-hour breaker right here, right? So I think that we're going to go right here to $70 to $74 or $170 to $174. And that looks like a pretty good opportunity if we get it for another buy opportunity. All right. And that's essentially how this works. But this is definitely some sort of an SFP that's definitely concerning. And we go to the daily chart and we absolutely do have, it's even more clear right here. We absolutely do have, there's a higher high, lower high, higher high on price, lower high on RSI. This looks like this bearish divergence on the daily appears to be playing out, right? So that's actually pretty concerning. So at this point, what I'm expecting is I really want to see the price get back above the swing high, close back above the swing high, and preferably make new highs. And it looks something like this. Okay, and this is what I would hope to see if I was a bull, right? If I was a bull, what I would expect to see or want to see is something like this. Come down here, tap this breaker, come back up here, retap it, get back up. This is the price action I'd be looking to see if I was hoping to get a good entry on this. So you know this should act as a strong support because we have our weekly breaker here, and we also have a 4-hour breaker. If it falls in this level, this should hold as a pretty strong support. Now, if it falls, where would your next support be? This daily breaker, right? And if that daily breaker falls, where are you going to go to? Down here at this next daily breaker, all right? And I hope that makes sense as to what we're looking for on these charts. So essentially, these breakers, because they had that massive amount of contention between the bulls and the bears, that's the consolidation point. That's where a lot of people bought and sold. Those are previously accepted price levels. So those are the levels you'd be expecting the price to drop back into and get retested. So this should act as a strong support. So should this. So should this. All right. And that's how you play these breakers. All right. So this is the 4-hour. This is the US dollar pairing chart. And I think overall, this looks pretty good. I think I'm really happy with the way this one looks, and we've annotated all of our levels. Now we're going to go to the BTC pairing because you always want to check both. Okay, what that means is the BTC pairing is a ratio between how much BTC can you purchase with one quant. Okay, well, as we know, Quant is $184 and Bitcoin is around 46,000 today, I believe. So that means you can buy 0.0041015 Bitcoin with one quant, which makes sense. So this ratio can and should be charted out. And this gives you more information on the chart as a whole. So let's go ahead and look at the chart and see what we can find on here. So like I was saying, if we can do a quarterly chart, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go over here to the 3-month chart, if we have any quarterly breakers. And yes, we do. We absolutely do have a quarterly breaker. We're going to go ahead and annotate it on here. Go over here, find the right one. There it is. I think this is a breaker. I think it also coincides pretty well with this one. So essentially we have one massive consolidation period. And actually, if I zoom out, I bet this is going to be really, really awesome. Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay. You guys see, this is just a massive consolidation. It's what's called a range. Okay, and this range has been just a massive amount of consolidation before an expansion to the upside. And in crypto or any sort of asset trading, we have a rule. The rule is the longer the consolidation, the more aggressive the expansion. Okay, I'll say that again. The longer the consolidation, the more aggressive the expansion. So Quant consolidated for essentially, what is that? 3 years? 2 years, 3 years, around 3 years, guys. Okay, so that's obviously a long period of time that Quant did consolidate. So whenever it did break out, as you can see, it did very aggressively. And this is the same sort of thing we're looking at for coins like XRP, because XRP also consolidates for a very long period of time. Another one to look at is Raven. Okay, Raven consolidated for a long period of time. Okay, those are things that I really, really like to see because it establishes a very strong base. Okay, and once you do go to the upside, usually it's very explosive, and I do love that a lot. Now, one thing I want to go back to the US dollar pairing on, I completely forgot to mention this, is going to be the daily 200 moving average, and it looks like we actually don't even have one on this chart, which is not that surprising since this chart is not very old. And I know there are probably better charts out there that have more price history, but none have the volume profile I really want to look at. So, well, as a consolidation, I'm going to go to a 12-hour chart, see if I can get it there. Okay, there it is. So now you guys can see, now we have a 12-hour 200 moving average, which is essentially the same as a daily 200 moving average, especially because we had all this consolidation period where the price essentially ranged for so long. Now, let's look at this. What happened? What interaction happened with the 200 moving average? Well, you can see once it really started to push off from it, this is when we had the break to the downside. reversal, and it accelerated the upside, right? Now it came back in and tapped it again, which is what you want to see. Came back in, essentially tapped it again, and then it was off to the races. So the 200 moving average is way down here at around $82, which means that we are very, very, very far off the 200 moving average, which means we have a obviously extremely bullish chart. However, this also means that if this starts collapsing, the 200 moving average will act as the major support level, but that support is way down here and around the 80s to 90s region, which means it has a long way it could fall if it started to get ugly. Okay, that's definitely something to consider. Now let's go to the BTC pairing, and on this one we actually can use the 200 moving average, and we're going to. So this is the 200 moving average on the daily, and you can see once we got above the 200 with volume and conviction, then we were off to the races. Okay, we did come back down. We retested that quarterly breaker we talked about earlier, and then we have just completely accelerated and blown this place out of the water. Okay, so the 200 moving average has been a very important level on this. So yeah, not too bad. Let's see what else. Let's go to the 3-month chart. Okay, that's all we got there. Let's go to the monthly chart. Essentially the same. It's been such a parabolic movement. I don't expect it to come back down to this level anytime soon. Go to the weekly. There we go. Now we're starting to get some levels that I think have a lot of significance. So the first thing we're going to look at is right here. This is a very obvious weekly breaker. Okay, this is as well, but I think it's so far down, I'm going to go ahead and ignore it for now. So this is the only weekly breaker that really exists in this chart. Let's go to the 3-day. Nothing really stands out on the 3-day. We do have it down here, but I'm going to really ignore that for right now. Let's go to the daily. Now the daily, we're finally getting some interesting levels. So I like this as a major breaker. Why is it an important breaker? Because we had a movement to the upside, a downward movement, and then it did go back up and re-clear this level. So because it re-cleared it, I'm going to consider this a major level. Now another level that does exist, you can see this. This is another major breaker. Go ahead and annotate it. And as you can see, these levels interacted with this very, very well. And it acted as a breaker is supposed to. There, I can't talk today. So with the daily breaker, it broke down. Where did it find support at? Of course, the next breaker down. Makes sense, right? So daily breaker broke down, came down here, rounded, came back up. Where did it find resistance? Of course, the next daily breaker to the upside. So until we get outside of these two levels, we're what's called range bound. Okay, and so these ranges can last for a very long time, like you remember with this chart over here, right? This is a possibility of what happens. So you had went to the upside, downside, now you just ranged around forever until eventually you broke the upside, right? So that's what we're doing right now. We are range bound inside this two levels, essentially seeing what's going to happen. Now, how do you play this, right? That's the question. Well, these ranges can take a long time to play out, so we really don't know yet. Let me go to the brush tool. This is something that's absolutely possible. We could come down here, back down here again, reverse, 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 and eventually it might decide to break one or the other, right? That's very possible of something that could happen here because these are two very major levels. Now, something else that could happen, we could see this come over here, come back over here, fall through, retap, and then come back up here. Is that possible? Yes, absolutely it is, right? However, you don't know until you actually get to that point, right? Something else that could happen, that's definitely a bearish case, is you could do something like this, where it comes down here, rejects a little bit, come maybe this 4-hour breaker, come up here, and do the upside, right? Is that possible? Absolutely, right? So the key is there's a lot of options that are going to happen here. However, you need to understand we are currently range bound in this consolidation period, and you need to make sure you're careful and not make any drastic movements. Now, in general, the rule is you buy at resist, or you sell at resistance and buy at support. This right here is what? This is a resistance, right? So since it's a resistance, should you be buying at this level? No, right? In general, you do not buy at resistance. However, if it came down here and retapped in this area, should you buy? Yes, right? However, if you lost this level and you came back up here, what would this now be? This would now be a resistance level because what was once a support should react as a resistance. So if it came down here, right, you would buy right here. However, if it fell through and came back up here, would you buy? No, you'd sell. Why? This is called a bearish retest of this major support resistance flop, right? On the same mantra, let's say we just like this. Let's say it comes back up here, pops to the upside. Okay, this resistance has now been broken. So if it comes back in here, what should you do? You buy because this now should act as a support level. Okay? So that's what we're looking at for the overall. Let me get rid of these little things because they're getting in my way and they're really annoying. Delete, 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 and delete. Awesome. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Some overall thought process on this. Now let's go to the 4 hour like we are right now. And I'm going to zoom in on here because we do have a very obvious breaker coming up. And this one is a 4 hour breaker, so it doesn't have that much significance, but it does have the possibility of holding this price up if we get to it. So 4 hour breaker. Is it possible it comes down here? Is comes down here, taps it, and then goes back up. Yes, absolutely, right? This is absolutely a possibility that we need to be aware of. So if you want to add a little bit of position right here, if we do come in for this retest, is that a good idea? I think it would be. I really would. However, if we came back below it and lost it and came back up here, should you be buying? No, you should be selling. Why? This should be a major resistance level, as it should come back down here. If it comes down here, what are you going to do? You're going to buy, right? Because it's a support level. It comes back up here, what are you going to do? You're going to sell. Why? It's still a resistance until it gets reclaimed. If it gets back above here, what are you going to do? If it comes back around again, you're going to buy. Why? It's now a support level, right? And that's how you play these resistance support flops. And they're really easy to play. They're really easy to see, and they make a lot of sense. The part is actually executing your plan when you get these points, because it goes against your better judgment to buy when the market's crashing or showing a lot of red. It scares you, right? So if this keeps dropping into our level right here, everyone else is going to say, "Why would you buy Quant? That's stupid. Look at it. It looks horrible right now." But you know, because of the research, that this should act as a major support level, just like this one should, right? Let's see, anything else in this chart that really makes sense to me? You know what? Not really. I do like this, actually. This little spot right here, is this a breaker? Yes. Yes. Yes, it is a breaker, right? It's a green candle. So I'm going to annotate that. And look at the interaction this breaker had. Interesting, right? So it came up here, tapped this level, couldn't get above it, and now rejecting. Maybe there's some significance to this level. Interesting, right? Why is it? It's because it is a green candle in a sea of red, right? That's all it means, guys. I'm telling you, don't overthink this stuff. I promise you. So yeah, I think right now it looks like we are having some sort of a bearish divergence play out. I think that this daily breaker is holding us down at the moment. So Quant honestly doesn't look great at this level, right? It really doesn't. However, that's on the low time frame. But if you zoom out, Quant looks amazing. Okay, Quant looks absolutely amazing if you zoom out, and I really, really do like this whole entire structure. One more thing I'm going to show you guys is going to be right here. Let's go ahead to the very bottom of the entire impulse, the very top. Okay, now we have this entire level annotated out, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to annotate a few more levels. This is called a Fibonacci retracement tool. And what this means is this is the retracement levels between the bottom to the top. Okay. Now a healthy retracement usually comes down to one of these levels. So the 236, the 382, the 0.5, the 618, which is called the golden pocket region. This entire level is called the golden pocket region. And the 786 is not really that healthy. So go ahead and disregard the 786. But the 618 to 702 is absolutely a healthy buy region. And just to give you an idea of how I played this very recently, Just today, I played off of ACH, okay, ACH. And what I did is I went to the all-time time frame. You can see 13,000%, right? What I did is I took the Fibonacci retracement levels, the very, very top, and I said, hey, 618 to 702, this is the golden pocket region. So as long as we're inside the golden pocket region, I'm going to buy. Well, if you zoom in, what do you think happened today? Pretty obvious. Came down almost to the 702 region. The entire area is a golden pocket and have accelerated the upside very aggressively. So it did exactly what I'm telling you guys. Very possible that could happen to Quant. You're like, that's so far down. It doesn't make any sense for Quant to drop all the way down into the $111 region, or I'm sorry, the $75 to $90 region, right? That sounds so amazing. There's no way it would ever drop that far. Well, welcome to crypto, guys. ACH just did it. Alchemy did it. All right. And it did it in the span of like 4 days. Okay. It's very possible. And don't ever think that it can't happen. The important thing is you need to make sure you're very consistent and watch these levels and don't stress out by zooming in too close. That's why I did a top down analysis, right? So I'm going to go ahead and annotate that. I'm going to annotate this as the golden pocket region. Okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Let's do this. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go in here. And I really hope you guys take a lot of notes on here. I hope that you guys are annotating all these key levels that I'm showing you, because whenever things start going crazy and the price starts going really crazy, you need to be able to reference your sheet and understand what is going on the high time frame. Okay, 382 retracement level. I'll do the 236 as well. I think that makes sense. 0.236 retracement. You guys are looking at this, right? I hope it makes sense to you. And if it's not, make sure to rewind this video and make sure you get all these different levels re-annotated on here, all right? At the 0.5. All right, perfect. Now, there's one more thing I'm going to annotate on here, and I think that's a pretty good levels. Get rid of all this. When you zoom way out, it looks really, really crazy, right? So much stuff going on. But when you zoom in and are going through these individual price actions, it makes it a lot clearer, and you can see where are my major levels are at. You guys can see that, right? Golden pocket right here. We have the daily breaker right here, with the weekly breaker right here. 0.5 retracement level. All these levels are key, and you need to make sure you understand where these levels are at. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over is going to be the monthly and or the high time frame open and closes. Okay, so this is the monthly open, and how you can tell the monthly open. Go to the beginning of the monthly candle, and you're going to go ahead and annotate it. So I'm going to do it with a gray time. Oh, I got to turn the magnet on. All right, over here. Awesome. This is going to be an August open. Okay. Let's go to the last weekly candle right here. Go to the, I'm not going to worry about the daily. I think that's plenty. Actually, I'm going to do 2 weekly open. I'm going to do the last weekly open as well. That's 1 weekly open, and that's 1 weekly open. So this will be the weekly open. Awesome. So now, once again, when you zoom in, all these levels are all annotated for you. I know it gets really messy, but when the price starts moving around, you're going to be able to set your bids and understand what's going on as it starts moving around. Because if you zoom in close enough, this stuff makes a ton of sense, and you can really start playing your levels. All right. So essentially, if you are above a key level, okay, that level should act as a support level. And if you're below that level, it should act as resistance. So you should be selling at that resistance, and you should be buying at that support, right? In general. Now, make it very clear, guys. I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. So I'm going to tell you how I play this along with many other coins. Let's see. So outside of that, now let's say we do get above this swing high. Okay, let's say we get above the swing high. Well, where are our major resistance and support levels? Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, we're in what's called a price discovery mode. And what that means is we have no price history up in this level. We don't have any prior history to go off of. We don't have breakers. We don't have any of that stuff, right? So how do you try to understand where your targets are going to be. Now, you can do what's called Fibonacci Extensions, and that is definitely an option. However, I don't necessarily recommend that. Instead, what I would instead want to do is I would want to just sit on my hands and wait. Okay? Sit on my hands and wait. Now, why would I do that, right? So when you are trading, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to have these movements. I'm going to show you how it's going to look like on here. We'll have these movements. Let's take off this right here. You go up here. Then it's going to start losing strength, right? Okay. If it comes back up here and continues up, is that good? Yes, right? Because you have a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. That's a normal market structure. But let's say this happens. If I can click on it. There we go. Let's say this like this. Low. Okay, you see this. This is called a lower low. This is a change in market structure, right? Because you had a low, a high, a higher low, but you had a lower high. Okay? This is an official change in market structure, and this is when you want to understand, hey, there's some serious weakness in this market. Now, how serious is it? You really don't know yet, right? But the key is this is a show of weakness. And there's a rule in crypto. It's you buy into strength and you sell into weakness. Right now, Quant looks fine on the high time frame. Nothing wrong at all about that chart. However, if you start seeing stuff like this, this is a show of weakness on that chart. And you need to make sure you're careful because when you get things like this, then you need to start looking for exit points. I'm going to show you a really good example of how to find an exit point on a very popular coin. We're going to go back and look at Bitcoin, right? Makes sense to me. So we're now at Bitcoin. We're going to go to the 4-hour chart, okay? And I actually got a really good exit out of Bitcoin, and there's a really good reason why. Because I had this very obvious keyly definable breaker right here. Go right here, the rectangle, and annotate it. Okay? And this level was very significant. How can I tell it was very significant? Because look at the interaction this breaker had. Came up here, tapped it, 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 got above the level, right? Which it should have acted as a support level, right? Because anytime you get above those levels, that's whenever you know that this, or once you test it so many times, when you get back above it, it should act as a support, right? However, obviously did not. And the market reacted very appropriately to this loss of support level. Massive drop, right? Horrible. And also you had a massive amount of volume and things like that. All this were great signs to let you know that, hey, this market has a lot of weakness in it, right? So as it was coming down, it was going back up. The one thing that I was looking at was the overall volume profile. I kept saying, guys, we don't have the volume to justify this movement, okay? And I was posting in Discord and Facebook at the time, so you can go back through and check it. But essentially, this volume on this increase was not impressive relative to the volume on this drop. So because of that, I was looking for an exit. Now, where was I going to try to exit? Maybe it was that 4-hour breaker that we had back here, right? Make a lot of sense to me. And sure enough, what happened? We came up there, low volume, low volume, low volume, got up here, tapped it, and then we just continue our continuation downward, right? So this is what you're looking for. This is called a bearish retest. These bearish retests are where you want to try to exit out your positions. Okay. Now I'm throwing a lot at you, and I understand that, right? So how are you going to know when it's time to sell Quant? Well, you can learn how to trade really well, and I hope you do. I honestly do. Another option you have is you can actually join my Discord server, okay? Join my Discord server, and I actually keep people up to date on what's going on with the altcoin market. So make sure to join it. The description, the link to it is in the description, okay? Make sure to join that, and I will keep you guys up to date on what's going on with Quant, along with a ton of other coins. Now, if you do want other coins, I think, or I have definitely bought, and I think look really good, I'm going to go ahead and place a card above my head. Make sure to check that out. And outside of that, I'm going to let you guys go, and I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces, boys.